Cool. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my science journey. If you are new here, we are very glad to have you today and joining us on our YouTube channel. And we are having another session in our science communication series where we learn how to speak about science. And, at MSJ, we believe that science is not just about the facts or the data. It's also about communication. It's about connection and community. And our guest today, who we're very happy to join us, embodies all of this, as we will find out. So we have Dr. Patience Kiyuka, who is a principal research scientist at the Kenya Medical Research Institute, and she will tell us a bit more about her work with time. But beyond the lab, she is also a passionate science communicator, and she has won a very prestigious award, which we will also discuss what it means and what it has done for her. But before I go too much into it, it's not my story, it's not my science journey, it's Patient's science journey. So we're gonna get right into it. If you have any questions during our conversation, make sure to drop them in the live chat. And please tell us what your name, where you're joining us from, and your questions, and I will read them out to Patience as our conversation goes on. So welcome. Welcome, Patience. We're very happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
And to kick us off, I'm very curious, if you were not a scientist, what do you think? What else could you see yourself doing?
Um, I think if I wasn't a scientist, I grew up at some point in my childhood. Those days, we weren't much exposed to career options, and this is conversations that I started to have maybe in my campus. So I grew up at some point thinking I wanted to be a preacher because
Oh.
I grew up in the village, and church was really part of us and part of growing up. And as I began to realize life as being self-aware, I was like, maybe I can be a preacher,
Mhm.
and convince people about this. And having that grounding with the church and the Word of God, I think has been a compass in my life. I didn't become a preacher, but the church and the Word of God and spirituality has remained part of my life in many ways, and it gives me the anchor. I find it as the anchor in my life when life happens. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. I turned out to be a scientist, though. I enjoy it every day.
And I would say that the communication skills you would use as a preacher, I hope you're using them as scientist. Yeah.
Yeah, somehow I reconnected with that when I went into
Mhm.
communication. So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's interesting. And so, for example, if you had to explain what you do to a 10-year-old, what would you say?
For 10-year-old, I'll tell them that my work is to understand how your body works, how
Mm.
your body gets to keep you healthy, how your body gets to keep you safe so that you feel you're okay, you can work well. And once I understand how your body works, I can be able to make these drugs, vaccines, so that when you're unwell, I can restore your health.
Mm. That's very clear. Yeah. Maybe we should be explaining our careers that way. Okay, so
Yeah.
before we go into the depth of science communication, maybe you can give us a background of your science journey. That is, what you studied, how you decided what to study, and what you studied for your undergrad, and how that journey has been until where you are now, before we go into the science communication bit.
Yeah, so as I said, those days we weren't really fixated on the journey on what we wanted to become. Well, that conversation really didn't happen until much later into my life. So what I knew that I needed to work very hard. For sure, I grew up and I saw poverty. What I was so sure is that I don't want to lack. That
Mm.
was very clear in my life. Like I really want to be able to meet my needs and be able to live a normal, comfortable life.
Mm.
So I knew that I just needed to pass and pass very well. And that's what I did in my primary school, transition to high school. And so in high school, after you finish, then we were calling Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education. Then that's why it was called. So
Mhm.
then you need to choose your courses for the university. So we went with my dad. I remember they're done at, places. Then we went there and my dad was like, my mom looked at it and like, I think you've passed very well in sciences. So you select science-based courses. And that's how I ended up doing biochemistry from Kenyatta University. I finished while I was in Kenyatta University. I came to KEMRI for normal academic tours, and then I met scientists, and I was fascinated by what they do. Then I started my internship at KEMRI, and I've been in KEMRI since then, different projects, different centers. And then while I was KEMRI, and after attachment internship, I was posted to where I am right now. And then from there, I got to know that people do masters, PhDs. I got a scholarship for my masters. I did my masters in infectious diseases from London School. I finished, transitioned to my PhD from the Open University in the UK. Yeah, so since then, I had another stint as a postdoc at the NIH in the US, another postdoc in the UK, Oxford, at
Mhm.
a pharmaceutical company. And then I came back home to just establish my career and try to think about what I can do because I feel like this is where the scientists are needed most.
Mm, mhm. Wow. And so all through that journey from undergrad through the internships, through the graduate studies, postdoc and all, when do you think you first realized that science communication was going to be a core part of your work?
It was really funny because I tend to think things happen for out of fate or something. Because it was during my PhD, I was part of there was this Delta's program that is funded by Science for Africa Foundation. This is an ambitious project across Africa to get more people to do PhDs. So I
Mhm.
was doing that, and we were the first cohort of PhD students funded for Delta's one. So in the course of that, during my fourth year, Delta's launched science communication and science engagement grant. So they were like, we want to get PhDs, people to think about science communication and do engagement beyond the study-specific engagement, the ethical requirement of engagement. Can we
Mhm.
find people who are doing engaging, like innovative science engagement project? So then I thought about it and I was like, oh, there's a time I was in Finland and I met this lady who was talking about, you know, virtual reality. So I was like, why not try it? So then I proposed to do a virtual reality tour of our labs. And that project like just was like everyone liked it. So I got funded. And since then I've always been funded. Every year I'm almost always running a science engagement or science communication project because then that started spark the interest. And
Mhm.
so I got into networks and then I got to win awards and so I've always had something and science communication has almost become part of me. People know me more for my science communication than for my other research work, which is
Really?
fine, which is fine, and I've accepted that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so you mentioned that your education, your science journey, let's call it that, your science journey has taken you from home to Europe, the US for a bit, and then back to the UK a bit, and then back home. And how have you seen science communication differ in these different contexts, if it differs at all?
Yeah, so my postdoc, my science work has taken me to that places.
Mhm.
My science communication has given me the platforms, it has opened many doors, and put me to places I didn't think I would be.
Mm.
And I think it's a good combination. So when I was at the NIH, I was working for the government. It's a US government. That science communication is a bit restrictive. People are really sieving through what they get out, and it's a bit a restrictive environment for a good reason. I mean, governments operate like that. And then when I was in the UK, I was in a pharmaceutical company, and there they take their science communication to all a new level. Like
Mm.
they do it they have more tools to do it. They do it better. They can engage any other group they can think about. Their social media, their presence, their professional outlook, it's really polished. And it sort of has informed the way I do it. Now I understand more about branding.
Mm.
I understand more about, what's your mission, what's your culture, what do you stand for, how do you communicate that, what do you put out there, like what's the intention of the message,
Yeah.
thinking through all that so that you have a consistent messaging across all the groups that you work with.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. And So before we get into the award that you won and how that
Yeah.
came about, I would ask, so your work touches on complex issues. Like earlier, but earlier you were able to break it down. Like when I asked you how you would explain it to a 10-year-old, it was very clear. So how do you make complex science like that relatable for different audiences, be it the community, be it policymakers, etc., etc.?
I think I'm lucky because I can get to work with the people I want.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have the resources, you get to work with any person really. Um, but none than that, there's also the professional and personal relationships that you build. So
Yeah.
if I want to produce a play, for example, for me, I'd be like, I need people who have been in theater, people who have done acting. So I have a conversation with them. If I
Mm.
want to produce a video for high school students, I call them, I have conversation, I ask them questions. I produce an output, I take it to them and ask them, did you understand this? What didn't you understand? How do you think we can make it relatable? So for me, the thing that has really worked for me is I work with people. I have established networks and professional relationships that allow me to reach the people I don't even have access to. So at least I know someone, who knows someone, who knows someone, who knows someone who can get me the person I want.
Mm.
And now as a government scientist as well, that platform also allows me to access many people. So for me, it's been working with people, putting the people whose message I produce at the center of it. If I
Mm.
want to produce stories, I work with journalists, storytellers, everyone who thinks and works on storytelling. So I don't sit and produce my message alone. I always I work with the people whose message I intend to produce for.
Wow, that's powerful. And I think there's this scientists often tend to have this disconnect where at some point the science stops being about people, yet people are at the core of it, and we make it so
Yeah.
technical that we forget that it's supposed to actually serve people. So that's very powerful.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, they say that you can produce the vaccine to save millions of people, but if people don't take it, it doesn't do
Yeah,
anything. If the people don't understand why they need to take the vaccine, all that doesn't make sense. Yeah,
exactly.
so communication really should be at the heartbeat of science.
Mm.
Beyond communication beyond the journals. I mean, I think journal
Mhm.
publication is everything that we do. Think that's what we are trained. That's how we convey our messaging. But
Yes,
really, someone should step back and ask, why am I doing this?
yes.
Are the people whom I'm working for understand what I'm doing? And I usually say we are funded by taxpayers. Almost more than 50% of the science work that we do is funded by taxpayers, whether it's in our countries or it's in abroad. So we owe it unto ourselves to ensure that we give the taxpayers value for their money.
Mm.
And we can only do this if they understand what you do. And how do they understand what you do? We make the information accessible.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you when you in your previous answer, you mentioned something about using plays or videos, and I'm curious, what practical tools like that have you used? Like, have they have been most helpful in your science communication work? And if you would give us an example of one project where you used such a tool and how you implemented it and how that was.
So I have done I I'm trying to think about which example to give.
Mhm.
So I think what has really stood out for me is virtual reality, and virtual reality is versatile. It allows you to transport people. It gives them the immersive experience, and especially for the kids, the population, the age group I work with. So this particular video that stood out because it won an award anyway is I produced a virtual reality video, an animated virtual reality video to explain to high school students about the COVID-19 pandemic. What is it? Why are people making a fuss out of it? And so now we have a vaccine. Why should we take it? Why should we care about all these preventive measures? During the pandemic, everyone was talking to every adults. No one was talking to young kids,
Mm.
these teenagers and the youth. No one was curating messaging for them.
Yeah.
So that's good. And even the first VR video that I was funded for to produce a tour of our labs in at KEMRI Wellcome, and that was also very engaging in a way because the video was very thoughtful the way it was produced. that subsequently it allowed me to get two subsequent funding from the National Geographic Society to produce life underwater ocean, to produce another um, the other one was life underwater, and why am I forgetting the videos I've produced? Yeah, and about the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, that's the one that won the award. Yeah, so for me, virtual reality has allowed me to experiment, make, and the fact that you can animate, so you can really explain any concept to these people. So it doesn't, virtual reality is very expensive, but the fact that you can do it in a computer, animate the concepts that you want to do, that has really been helpful. Yeah.
Wow. That's very interesting. Now I'm even curious. I know it's intended for high school students, but I also I also want to see it. And I'm
Yeah.
wondering,
Yeah.
yeah. You mentioned, for example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the vaccines came in and all, there was all this misinformation and skepticism. So how have you dealt with, if you've had that experience, how have you dealt with skepticism or misinformation when communicating, especially health-related science, and how do you deal with that?
I think it's more of producing accurate messaging. I think the last time I had a conversation with a journalist, there's always journalists and scientists. Journalists want headlines, things that click, but scientists want to make accurate information. So we are stuck. It's like a war. But
Mm,
for me, I try to always see, like, make it fun. And that's why I work with artists. I
mm,
work with videographers. Make
mhm.
it fun but engaging. I think you can tell stories. Stories are who we are. That's how we see the world, and stories move us into action. But you can still infuse science into story, or make science stories, and in
Yes.
a way that, so if you make someone feel like they're watching a play or a movie, they're not listening to hard science facts. I think
Mm,
that's the only way we can, counter the misinformation and disinformation. We can make it funny, we can make it engaging, we can, all those. I think there is an opportunity to do that
mm.
still, and still convey a science information. It doesn't have to be like the hardcore, facts laid the way they are.
Yeah, making it relatable for sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
engaging.
and
Yeah.
engaging. Yeah, wow. And then, so first of all, congratulations on all the awards and the grants that you've won from your science communication work. That is so inspiring. And I would
Thank
like us
you.
to talk about the Eric and Wendy Schmidt Award for Science Communication. And if you could just tell us what it is about, and how you won it, like what project did you submit, and how was that whole feeling of getting awarded, getting recognized for your work, and what it has meant for you moving forward. Yes.
Yes, so the video that won it is the one that I've said about the COVID-19 pandemic. And the way I think I don't remember how I came across that award.
Mm,
I was just from producing the VR video of the lab, then got funded during the pandemic, produced. The interesting bit is that I produced that video while I was in the US, and I was working with someone in Kenya to make it. I was busy into my postdoc, and I was doing it. So it's a video that I didn't think much about it. But when I saw the award, I was like, okay, they want the most recent work. So I submitted it. So it was very exciting to win. It was very exciting to go to America, to the National Academies of Sciences, to get the award. In fact, that time we had a backlog of visas for US Embassy. But when they saw my application, they were like, wow, you have to go. They produced my visa in an hour.
wow.
So it was like very prestigious just being in that space, in that crowd. Their parties are different, their conversations are different.
Mm,
And since winning that award, I mean, many people don't know much about it, but it's an award that recognizes excellence in science communication, and they target postdocs, they target journalists, they target storytellers, people who write books. And so you all meet in this network, and this space and forums that they give you many more opportunities. And since in that award, they have follow up, most of the funders really follow up the awardees and the grantees over the years. So they have had two subsequent awards, small grants, which I've also won. So you can get this one grant that just opens many doors. and also gives you the confidence. And also you stop back and like, oh, okay, maybe what I'm doing is good. That recognition and self-awareness. Maybe I don't let it, affect the way I work, the way I design projects, and I design projects all the time from scratch. But the fact that people validated my work is also very, very fulfilling.
Yeah, it really is. Like, congratulations again. Yeah,
Thank
and you're
you.
getting congratulations from our audience as well. So,
Thank you.
yeah. And so you recently published, I don't know if it's recent, but I saw it recently. An article you published on the Springer journal platform and on how to improve science communication and the need to improve science communication. And I would like us to talk a bit about that in case there's someone in our audience who's not yet had a chance to read it. So first, let's start with some of the unique challenges you've seen African scientists face in trying to communicate their work.
Yeah, I think first of all, do
Mhm.
scientists appreciate that they need to communicate their word beyond publishing in a journal, in a
Mhm.
peer-reviewed paywall journal?
Mhm.
I don't know. I think it's a question that maybe the audience can participate to. But the
Yeah.
the, the trainings I've done to early career scientists, I can feel the resistance. They're like, I
Mhm.
mean, we have communication officers. Why should we, trouble ourselves? Because
Yeah.
designing, engaging, designing communication that reaches audiences beyond the audience that there's a way we write. It's an abstract. We have introduction, we have
Mm.
methods, we have results, we have discussion. And we are wired from maybe masters, at least for in Africa, to think about it that way.
Mhm.
Now I am meeting someone in their postdoc, in their PhD, and I'm telling them, okay, you can actually communicate beyond that. First, I think that's the big challenge. Are Africa, don't want to say African scientists because African scientists are all over the world. I can
Yes.
say scientists in Kenya, or for example, do they even know that that's an option? I
Mm.
think that's the first thing.
Mhm.
And I
And
think the one, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I was just wondering, in the paper you also mentioned that a bit of background of why that issue is because of our incentive systems in academia and the research
Yeah,
space generally.
yeah,
Yeah, maybe
yeah,
you can
yeah.
talk about that a bit.
Yeah, I
Mm.
can tell you for a fact, for me as a tenured scientist,
Mm.
my science communication doesn't give me points. It doesn't get the recognition that someone who's publishing in a journal gets. So I get to do it not because I want my career to move, but because I love it. I enjoy doing it. It's the thing that keeps me going when I cannot get a grant to study malaria, surveillance.
Mm.
So I think that's the other thing we need to think about. How can we incentivize scientists to communicate? My output, look at all the output. It's recognized outside, not within, my employer. And I love my employer, no? I think I have I think I get to do the things I do because I have a flexible employer. But there is no that recognition that look, this portfolio of work that someone has done in science communication is important. I think they value policy engagement, which is still fine. We get to do it alongside other forms of engagement. So I think academia trying to look at impact of scientists broadly will
Mm.
incentivize scientists to also embrace science communication.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Wow.
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
what do you think, aside from a radical, I would say a radical shift in the incentive system, what do you think institutions and universities can do better to support scientists who are actually passionate about science communication? Yeah.
Allow them to access the platforms, allow
Mhm.
them to access the resources. I say I get to work here and I have a very good relationship with my communication team. In fact, most of the time we troubleshoot with them. I ask them, does this project make sense? Do you think it will resonate with the audience?
Mm.
Uh, my communication team really supports me. They post things for me. They amplify my work in many ways. They attend my meetings, take very nice media, and they help me really promote my work. So can other scientists access those resources? Because most of the time you find that the scientists, you really struggle to have your communication team listen to you. They'll only come when they need something from you. So can we allow our scientists to access the institutional support, institutional platforms. Because if you're doing your engagement in the community and you have your communication person coming to say the story, that makes a whole difference. Or even helping you create the stories and even craft the engaging messaging you want.
Mhm.
You know, you can a post and a post on social media is just not a post, but there's a way you post it to make it engaging. So, all those platforms and recognition as well and appreciation and even giving them the flexibility to do it. I don't have to do it on my extra time. I do it during my normal working time.
Mhm.
And really the institution will not, be there to ask me why are you not in the lab? It's part of my work and it's infused in my work. So I get to do it in a very supportive environment.
Yeah, for sure. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a question from the audience. Maybe you can clarify.
Yeah.
Said, how can we incentivize scientists to communicate beyond publishing?
How can we incentivize? I think um, first of all, there also has to be grants for these scientists
Mm.
too. Because, okay, if my science work doesn't matter, but if I say I want a grant, my organization, it's a grant, okay? Okay. It's a grant.
Yeah.
It's a grant. So it counts like any other grant. So
Yeah.
they will count it.
Mm.
So I think there has to be also opportunities for people to get to apply for these grants. Most of the first of all, communication is a core function of institutions. So they don't need to create an additional budget for it because they
Mm.
are public communication officers employed full time. But we do some, I think I tend to think like I do something different. I do science communication. I go beyond reporting. Today the director general was here, received these visitors, but I tell people like, okay, think about it, vaccine differently. Let's improve vaccine uptake. Let's produce a play. Let's go produce a radio show. And this radio show is designed this way. These are the guests. This is the messaging. These are so I think grants should, and also publication. If I'm not publishing in Nature or in this other, my publication, like my op-ed, should also count like the other publications that are counted. So all those things can make the institution and incentivize. But also scientists need to be know that I'm talking about in our setting. I'm aware that most of our audience are maybe from UK and Oxford and all those spaces that are really advanced in terms of science communication. But here also we need to do more to tell scientists, there's more career paths for you other than, being a bench scientist. You can be in science communication and you're still a scientist. I think that's the other thing among scientists. There's always like, should I, I don't think they're doing good science. I think we should all respect each other, whether you're doing hardcore science, trying to understand the DNA and drug discovery targets, and I'm doing science communication. I think we are both scientists and equally important.
I totally agree. Yeah. Because we're all advancing the creation of new knowledge and communicating it to the people
And
who
we are doing impact in different ways.
exactly.
I need to tell people why your drug targets are important or for them to take the medicine. You know, yeah.
For sure. Thank you. So we have another question from the audience from Lillian Gina. She asks, with misinformation spreading so fast online, what role do you think young scientists can play in reshaping how credible science is shared on social media?
I think scientists also needs to be in those spaces. They need to be in social media. They need to produce these funny messages. They need to produce science, communication in a different way. So we need to be in those spaces so
Yeah.
that I could think like for every debunk the misinformation and all that disinformation spreading. Why are we not there? How many followers do you have, for example, on TikTok?
Mm.
What content do you post on TikTok? I mean, I think there's so many other platforms. Why are we not there? Why are we not vocal about it? I think we need to be in those spaces where those misinformation is, so that someone can think about, oh, I saw this video. As this scientist trying to debunk it, have they given an opinion about it? You know, why are we not there? Why are we not also producing and churning out more information?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And there's this misconception that if you are putting your work on social media, it's not serious, quote unquote.
Exactly.
Yeah. And yet that is where majority of the young audience is.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Look at all the, what do we call it? What do we call those social media influencers? How many of them are scientists? How many of them are Kenyan scientists? How many of them are African scientists? Having all those 3 million followers. How many of them talk about science? Your
Yeah,
guess
for
is good
sure.
as mine.
Mhm. Food for thought.
Yeah.
And then we have another question. Okay, sorry, no, that's a comment, not a question. Okay, thank you. So I hope our audience is challenged because I know most of our audience is for early career young scientists. I hope they're challenged to use their because I know they are on TikTok, they are on Instagram. I hope they feel challenged to use their platforms, including myself, to use their platforms to share science and debunk the myths that we see around for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so how do you think in your work, for example, you can how do you think maybe from the VR work that you did for COVID to communicate the effects of COVID and the effectiveness of the vaccine, how do you think public understanding of science can influence behavior? And if you have an example of that.
Everything.
Mm.
People were told to wear masks. How many people were wearing masks? Why were they not wearing masks?
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another good example in our setting, and I have to use this because it's in our setting that the examples know. We have overwhelming evidence that bed nets are good. They protect you against mosquitoes, that cause malaria. How
Mm.
many people use it? And how many people use it well? I think everything, I think honestly, it took us so long to even understand and define science communication because I think for so long it was communication. Now
Mm.
we have science communication, we have science engagement, we have all these words that define a different form of engagement with the audience. So I think we need to think about it that way and ensure that, you know, we cannot. I think it's high time that science done anywhere in the world embraces science communication because
Mm.
that's the only way. And even actually, we do science because people trust us. We go out, we ask people for their samples, we ask them for very sensitive information. That public trust and goodwill to allow us do our work, it will be eroded if we don't let them know why we are doing it.
Mm.
I don't think there are many professions, medicine, had hospitals, they collect lots of data. Other than those people, it's scientists who really get very sensitive information from people. So
Mm.
if we lose that goodwill from the public, we won't be able to do the kind of work we do, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in health sciences, because the
Yeah.
health is very, very, very close to people. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you get a random sample, that sample has no meaning
Mm.
until it has the metadata. And this metadata is from someone who willfully gave you the information.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And another question we have is, has your approach to communicate, has your approach to science communication changed over the years? And if so, what influenced that shift?
Of course, it has changed over the years, in the sense that I don't, like, I didn't go to any school or I didn't have do a summer school or I was never in a classroom to learn about science communication. So I started by producing very simple things. But as I continue to do science communication, as I've shifted my audiences, the audience I want to engage with, as I move across different audiences from young children to ad adolescents to policymakers to journalists, my audience is changing and the kind of communication I do or the materials and content I produce for them is changing. I'm now being invited to train people. Um, then I've had to, like most of these things are self-learned. And then the more I interact with people, the more I understand the rigor I need to put into it.
Mm.
So it's definitely changing. And the fact that all my work is grant driven. So it means I have to also produce innovative things that people can fund me for. Unlike maybe a journalist who has a product that they sell. They do this, they design or they write stories and they paid for. For me, all my work is I think about a project, I bring the right people, we brainstorm about it, we design it, we get the grant, we run it like that. So it's shifting, and with all these funders, they have different interests, different things they want to fund. So you definitely evolve with them as well.
For sure. And even with different technologies. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have to produce the virtual reality video, but I
Mhm.
know what I want there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So Lillian asks, how can we make science communication more visible, accessible, and recognized as an essential part of science career, given that many young scientists do not realize it can be a career path?
That's a good point. I like what you, my science journey, are doing, just giving us the platform to, and giving, your organization, my science journey, is a platform as well as something you've thought about it, and you're enabling, and you're giving people real examples of people are doing it. Once people see that people can actually are scientists, the
Mm.
fact that I'm doing it from Kenya, I mean, someone from UK should do it and do it well. Or someone in the UK should do it and do it well. Look at the opportunities I have versus the opportunities you have in the UK, for example. So I think my science journey is doing the right thing, putting faces, giving people a platform, giving people this, letting people tell their stories. And I said stories are who we are.
Mm.
Um, how do you make it visible? I am very vocal online. I think if I'm in a meeting, I have to shout, I'm in this meeting.
Mhm.
So I think we also have to improve our social media presence so that people know, oh, that's a scientist who does science communication. Uh, so people can reach out to you as well. And then I hope this platform has told people that science careers are happening in Kenya.
Mm.
You have no excuse if you're in the UK and you want to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And David asks, how do you navigate contradicting science messages?
Contradicting science messages. Like, I wish I could get an example.
Yeah, I also
I,
wish you had an example.
yeah, but for me, when I listen to people, I tell them, you have concerns about vaccines, they're valid. You
Mm,
had an immune reaction to the vaccine. Those are valid concerns. When I host a radio program show and people are calling me and telling me, oh, you know, that my cousin took that vaccine and it went horribly wrong. Those are valid concerns. I think as scientists, we also have to admit when we have contradictory evidence. And we usually say may, could, but can we accept, provide people both sides of the story?
mm,
Let them appreciate that two both sides of, and help them navigate how to make those decisions. I think the one thing why I do science is that I want people to appreciate science and use science to inform their everyday choices. They need to exercise, because we have evidence about it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay. So if the audience has any other questions, I'll read them out, but I don't see any coming in for now. So we are going towards our last quarter of our conversation. So we'll be talking more about impact and reflection. And one question I have for you is, what myth did you have or have you seen in the science communication space that you would like to break?
Is it about a scientific fact or generally?
About science communication, just maybe why scientists are reluctant to put out their work, or just a myth about the concept of science communication that you're breaking.
That science communication is not a career path. Like
Mhm.
you have your PhD, you have your postdoc. When you're thinking, when you finished your PhD, when you finish your PhD, do you even think about science communication as among the places? We all know, oh, I want to remain in academia or I want to go to industry. Does anyone say, oh, I want to be a science communicator? And why are we not thinking about it as an option?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that's
why?
actually true. Because I'm
I
imagining
went,
going back
Mhm.
home and telling my parents or someone going and telling their family that, yeah, I want to become a science communicator.
After your PhD.
Mm. That's
We should start by having examples of enough people who have done it.
Mhm.
And then it will be, and young people leaving university or undergraduates. And I'm very lucky in the sense that I get to run these courses, opportunities, and programs, and I get amazing applications, some that really touch me. Get to hear from young people who are like, oh, in fact, for the meeting I held last year, someone told me, I didn't even know that as a scientist you can go into science communication. I even think it's a career option. You see? So we need more people, we need more promoters out there. We need more people on social media platform too. I think everyone has a preference of their platforms. I am more on LinkedIn, less on these other platforms. So you are on Insta, you are on all these other platforms. What do people know you about alongside your science work?
Mm-hmm. Okay. And we have another question in the audience. I think so earlier we talked about the low coverage of mosquito nets. And the question is how suitable bed nets are for certain settings. I think something about some places being too hot to sleep under a mosquito net, and maybe that's why people don't use it. So in such settings, what alternatives do you think can be availed when it's not so ideal to use the mosquito nets?
That's the thing. People have preferences. You are given a dose of medicine. Do you use it to the end? Yeah. So behavior, our understanding of stuff influences the way we take or use medical conditions or medical health information or health information in general. So I live in the along the Indian Ocean and it's really hot and I
Mm,
use a bed net myself every day because I've chosen to use it. So see, someone has to, when they're pressed to make a decision, are they going to use evidence or act in a very, let me say in quotes, a naive way? If someone knows the benefits of a mosquito net, it doesn't matter where they are. It doesn't really matter. But I also appreciate that human behavior influences on how we use health interventions as well. But I
mhm.
think people really appreciating and seeing the benefits. And malaria is really, it's a severe condition. I mean,
It is.
and for young children, it can cause death. So are you going to leave your child to, because it's hot for them to be beaten and die? Or
Mm,
will you find a way of keeping the room cool so that the child can use the bed nets? We can also modify our behavior so
mm.
that we can use this health intervention.
Yeah.
Like, for example, yeah, like even in a meeting, people should be allowed to have breaks, water, to take their medication. Like, we can create an enabling environment to use this health intervention. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, what do you think is a legacy that you hope to leave in the field of science communication? That's a
Oh,
big
that's a big, big option.
answer.
And sometimes you don't want your plans to be jinxed.
Mhm. Maybe you can be as vague as you can.
First, I want people in my setting to know that science communication is and I've used my setting, that
Mm,
science communication is a viable career. I
mm,
want hardcore scientists. I want senior scientists. I want people who are making decision about how career progression, designing our terms of promotion and, professorship path that science communication output and science communication also should count as part of my career growth as well, and a career growth for everyone. So, I mean, for those are the lowest hanging fruits for me that people should appreciate that you writing an op-ed in Nature, it's not easy. I can tell you for a fact. I wrote that article. You won't believe it, for like 6 months.
wow.
So it's equally as hard as getting the right angle. Because I had the first version, and they're like, "No, we need a good angle to it. No, this still doesn't resonate." So it's also as much hard work as writing a manuscript and editing it and making it for the journal to accept. So I think if those two can have, but I also want to have our work recognized by funders. Right now, science communication is a small budget line. Like, it doesn't even reach 5% of someone's grant.
Mm.
Why can't we have standalone grants that really allow you to do work that has a bigger impact because if everyone appreciates it, surely they'll create resources. When the world was like, COVID is gonna finish us, we produced a vaccine in 100 days, you
Mm.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when people appreciate, they make it even more easy for more people to do it.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we'll be here to cheer you on and get
And
building
I want you to
career.
join me over here so that I will be interviewing you next time. Or when we
Yeah,
meet in another forum, we are talking
of
about
course.
it.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
So we have some latecomers, but we encourage them. We have George asking if someone was to start a journey in science communication, how would you recommend they begin this journey? So if someone is an early career researcher wanting to get into science communication.
Early career researcher who wants to go into science communication. First, find the people who are doing it
Mm-hmm.
to have even a conversation with them. I mean, I don't know where John is. I don't know whether he is in Africa or he's in the UK or wherever he's joining us from. And then be aggressive about looking out for opportunities that allow you to showcase your work. So if your institution wants to cover scientists, why can't you be the one? Sometimes communication officers are desperately looking for people to feature.
Mm-hmm.
Why not volunteer yourself? Or sometimes they need people to help them put together a meeting or convey a meeting or, convey or design messaging or do it when you're launching your study, when you're doing, in fact, the easiest way to do it, you have a grant you're running, the grant involves you go to the community to produce, to get samples or something. Use that as a platform to produce an output, produce a video for these people. Go for engagement meetings with them with a play or do a radio. And most institutions have slots for radio stations to do a radio talk show and be there, volunteer to go to the radio station and communicate your work. So use the available resources and you are the one who is better placed to scan what opportunities there are for science communication. And in the process, you get better. Then now you start looking for grants or you meet people who have networks and you start growing like that.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. Oh, and George says
Mm.
he's in Kilifi, so
Come see
perfect.
me. Come see me.
Go see Dr. Patience at KEMRI and he'll talk more. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we have another question from, oh, and George again. Where can someone find your work that you've been involved in so far in science communication? Because this will be useful as inspiration and learning material.
Yeah, so just type my name on Google, Patience Kiyuka. Most likely you'll get my science work, my publication, more of my follow me on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
go on YouTube, look for my videos, go on Vimeo, find my videos. But hey, John, you're in Kilifi, have a conversation with me. Design something, or if you see an opportunity, I'm happy to review and tell you, maybe you need to do this, and maybe modify a bit of this. Let
Yes.
me help you as well. I'm open to business. To the extent I can, I will support. Yeah.
That's very, very gracious. So, George
Yeah.
Kitundu, you have heard. It is
Yeah.
on you now. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Doc. And we've put your LinkedIn profile on the links on the chat, so anyone can on LinkedIn can check and they'll be able to talk to you more if they want to discuss about getting into science communication. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
almost coming to the end of our hour, so I'd like to end our conversation unless there's any question which I don't see. But thank you so much for your time today. And maybe do you have any concluding remarks?
Yeah, too. I also run science communication webinar, not webinar, trainings
Mhm.
and programs. So apply to those programs as well so that you are in a room of people talking about it. That's where you get another opportunities. So my The second remark is to thank my science journey. I've seen a few of your videos online. I've seen the profiles of people you invited. It never crossed my mind you'll invite me to be in your platform. So yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to Ruth who invited me, and it's been a pleasure having this conversation with you guys. So I hope we can remain connected beyond this as well. And thank you to the audience as well. I mean, we can only do this if people have interest and come to listen. So yeah, thank you.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you so, so much. And we have appreciation from our audience to you. So thank you. And if they want to reach out to you, given your LinkedIn profile, so they can reach out to you. Thank you. And we are going to end the live now. So if you are new here, this is my science journey. We always do this every 2 weeks. So make sure to join us on our next YouTube live. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay. Um, Ruth should end the live soon.